Here we go, yo. Here we go. Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations off the timeline and go beyond the post. I'm your host, Los Def, and I'm back here for episode 209 of the platform. Welcome back, everybody. To anybody that's new, I'd like you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, show me some love. If you want to keep up with the channel and know what we're doing, hit that bell for notifications. If you want to join the conversation, leave a comment below. And if you know anybody that's interested in the content, give them a share that content. All right. So we're back with episode 209. And I'm glad to be back. I've been having some certain things in my personal life that have just made recording a little bit difficult, and just like anything, but we gotta still stay consistent. So we're back here with another episode, and I'm not gonna lie though, man, like I've been kind of drained with some of the content. I realized that, and when I say content, I'm talking about internet content. So like, I'm not gonna lie, man, I've the stuff that I've been seeing has been kind of like repetitive. So we are going to try to get away from some of the same narratives that like we've been seeing in terms of just certain figures and things like that. We do have one topic that's related to this situation, but it has more to do with how other people are reacting to it. So this episode, though, I'm excited about it. We are going to talk a little bit about Cardi B and her new baby daddy, and we'll obviously tell you who that is in a couple minutes here. What else do we have? We got, double check here. I'm just trying to make sure. Okay. Yes, I saw him. I finally saw him. The new Marlon Wayans movie. It's starring Marlon Wayans, but it's featuring the lead as a kid named Tyreek Withers, and y'all might remember him from, there was an episode of ATL with Donald Glover, or Atlanta, an episode of Atlanta, and it was like, I think it was called like rich wigger poor wigger or something like that, and it was it but yeah, it's starring that character, it's starring that actor, and we're gonna get into him, talk about the fan reception, talk about the plot, and then overall give my overall critique of it. We're also gonna give, because like last week was a week where I don't know, I was like kind of consuming a lot of black content, and I this is a movie that came out a while ago, and it's something that I wanted to talk about prior to it coming out, and then I never got around to it, but I finally saw it. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the Blackening. Quick review of that, and we're gonna talk about this situation at Starbucks, and how we have a Starbucks drink debacle, and how it relates to whether or not an employee followed Starbucks policy when it came to calling out someone's name. All right, so, and you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about once we get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about the Packers football, and then we're going to talk about, and probably briefly, but we're going to talk about this year's Super Bowl halftime performer, and maybe how they came to that decision, but also like so far, what is the fan reception of everything? All right, so I don't have no deep dive with this. We are going to get on to our first topic, but Cardi B, man, Cardi B. So she announces that she is pregnant, and guess who she's pregnant to? Not her husband, and that's okay, because they're still legally married, and but they are legally separated. But no, she is pregnant to Stefon Diggs, and I gotta say, man, like did we see this kind of coming? I guess that I would say that it was probably like a self-fulfilling prophecy that she was gonna probably get pregnant to this dude. They were getting hot and heavy. They were getting close very fast, it seemed like. And I'm not judging her for having a new man. I'm not even necessarily judging her for being pregnant while she's still legally married. Because I understand that there's some red tape that comes with being married and now being legally separated. But it does look away, right? And the reason why I say that it looks away is the fact that what this shows me is that I would say like the powers that be, the people, the handlers of Cardi B. I think it became now a time where, the true cards were going to kind of show, right? So when we think about Cardi B, right, we know that she's from New York, right? I believe she's from the Bronx, and she's rough around the edges, but like she's very charismatic. She's very likable. We liked her on social media back in 2014, 2015, 2016, and before she was even on Love and Hip Hop, and she was just having all these like relatable monologues, maybe more so for relatable to women of that live like in for black and Hispanic women, probably that live in more like urban centers. She was saying a lot of different things that were kind of relatable. At that time, she was a dancer. So, like we knew how she kind of got down. And then she got on Love and Hip Hop, and then she was able to make a song. And usually, people from Love and Hip Hop do not blow up and be anything, but she is like almost like the biggest anomaly or the biggest exception or outlier of that. And she blew up in 2017 with her first hit, Bodak Yellow. Her first album came out in 2018. She just dropped her second album, and I ain't gonna lie, I've been willing to listen to that. But what happened was when she blew up, right? She blew up, and then we saw that she got with, one of the hottest rappers at the time, which was Offset, because he was a part of, in 2017, the Migos was the biggest group in the world. And but when she gets with him, and you could tell that whoever was producing her or trying to like art develop her as an artist, you can tell that they wanted to make sure that she was a little bit different than what her image might portray. So her image kind of portrays this girl from around the way, who's a little bit rough around the edges. I don't want to say ghetto, you know what I mean, but I would say like a little bit ratchet. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying rough around the edges a little bit, but real, really, real, authentic, true to herself. But also, we know, I mean, like she kind of fits into some stereotypes, right? When it comes to, you know, uh, maybe black or Hispanic women and how they conduct themselves when they are in relationships, or also how they decide to form families, right? So you could tell that the people that were handling her was like, all right, I'm not gonna say that she didn't like Offset. I'm not gonna say that, but I think that once she got with Offset, they said, yo, you know what? We cannot have you be just this, like we want to, you're gonna be the next superstar, right? And especially female rap superstar, because we got Nicki Minaj. She was a rap superstar, but she kind of did it by herself. Like she didn't have no man on her side, and by the time that Nicki Minaj gets married her man, she was kind of, I wouldn't say that she was out the game, but like she was not as popular. So I think the people that were handling Cardi B was like, all right, we're gonna make you a face of a lot of different things. We want you to be out there. And so in order for you to be out there, you got to get married, right? So like we're not just gonna have you in a relationship with Offset, and y'all not just about to have kids. No, y'all got to get married. And then they got married, and I would say that things didn't really work out. Yeah, I mean, obviously they are working on getting a divorce, but like you could see the chinks in the armor, but like she was staying solid, right? Like apparently she was not like sleeping around. She wasn't with anybody, but we knew that Offset was, steadily cheating on her, right? Being unfaithful. But still, they had her kind of stand pat, whatever. They had her stay in this marriage. But I think, even though her fame started to, I wouldn't say her fame started to wane, but like her relevancy in terms of music specifically, everybody was itching for a new album. Everybody was itching for new music. We would get a single every year from Cardi B, since 2017. And I would even say since 2018, because that was when her first album came out. We was getting a new single, a hot single every year from her, but we weren't getting a full project, right? So I would say, and then you couple that with the fact that her relationship is kind of going in the toilet. And you could just I just feel that the handlers was just like, all right, we can't really keep this facade going no more. Cardi B is not with the facade anymore. So what she started to do was like she started to get emboldened and she started to be a little bit more transparent. And as of like 2024, last year, like we could see, and when they were starting to separate and stuff like that, like we started to hear rumors about her, getting with somebody. And then we saw it with Stefon Diggs. So Stefon Diggs has been around at least maybe for like a year and a half. Like he's been kind of in the picture. I think probably but maybe like 6 months before we even knew anything, and then but at least a year since like he was kind of public. And then we saw like stuff with Valentine's and things like that. We even saw the whole thing with um I even talked about it a couple months ago when we talked about the hairstyle. They were saying that Stefon Diggs like emulated the hairstyle, and some people were saying that was AI and all that, whatever. So she's in a new relationship, right? And but the only thing is, I would say is that like yeah, like she wasn't gonna maintain that married to and be a mother to one, have one baby daddy, whatever. Like I had a feeling that that was gonna fall apart at some point, and it has. And maybe she doesn't even have the same kind of people behind the scenes that really care about her image in that same way. And Cardi B is like on a revenge tour, so to speak, right? She got a new man and now she's pregnant. She's pregnant. So I'm not, it's not, I guess it's not a bad thing that she's pregnant, but it is kind of like it seems kind of typical. It seems kind of like, damn, like, well, here we go. And it's hard to say. It doesn't seem like she can't get married to Stefon Diggs until she's legally divorced. But I don't think that Cardi B and Stefon Diggs are gonna get married, right? So what's gonna happen is she's just gonna be in the cycle of like female celebrities, black female celebrities in especially in music that either she's gonna be hopping from relationship to relationship and then having kids to different guys, or this is it. Like she's gonna end it here. Who knows? I don't think we know for sure, but it's just like it's kind of crazy. Like it's kind of wild that like all right, well, you know what I mean? Um, what are they supposed to do? You know what I mean? Are they supposed to get married? Are they supposed to just kind of stay together? We'll see kind of how this stuff develops. Now, you know what I mean? If Offset felt some type of way before about Stefon Diggs, you can imagine that he's gonna feel some type of way now that these guys are sharing a baby mom. Um, but you never know. Like if things don't work out with her and Stefon Diggs, Offset and Stefon Diggs might become the best of friends. Who knows? Right? There are a lot of weird things that are coming out about Stefon Diggs that again I haven't really looked into those things. I don't get into like the very bad gossip. I'm only gonna talk about things that we for sure know, and we know for sure that she is pregnant. Um all I can say is that I hope she has a safe pregnancy and everything goes well, and hopefully, her and Stefon Diggs get everything that they want. But I would say though is like now, Cardi B don't kind of have that same mystique, whatever. Like she can't really talk the same trash because she was talking a lot just in her music about being a wife and having, a certain level of virtue. I would say now she's kind of regular degular. She's kind of regular degular and it's kind of sad because it's like, that's probably where she's supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the life that she was destined to lead prior to this, whatever. But like seeing how she was able to kind of break the mold and kind of show, her fans a different kind of side or a different alternative or different circumstance that most people can't necessarily relate to. But now we're kind of getting the typical, and now she's about to be a baby mama now. Like you couldn't say that before. You couldn't say that before with Offset because she was Offset's wife. And even with divorce, she becomes ex-wife, right? Now she is in baby mama territory. And so this will be Cardi B's what, fourth kid? Does she have three? I think she has three to offset. And then this will be Stefon Diggs' third child. So now we got blended family. He just had one. He just had a baby was just born April of 2025, and then his oldest was born in 2016. So even that, right? Like Stefon Diggs had some type of overlap between his last encounter or his last baby mom and Cardi B. So like, you know, as enchanting as it might seem that like, oh, you got this NFL player who's treating her better and things like that and sweeping her off her feet. Only time will tell if this is just going to be like a typical situation, if we're going to start seeing child support being thrown around, if they're going to last, like only time will tell. So, but I thought it was interesting. I do want to hear Cardi B's album because her first album was good. I it's weird though with Cardi B. It's like you know that she doesn't rap, so like you take that with a grain of salt. But then also like her delivery typically is sharp, right? And I guess she writes a little bit, but then I think it becomes hard to critique. It becomes a little bit more difficult to critique the music because it's like, are you critiquing it based off of her skill level, or are you critiquing it based off of like the aesthetic and the sound of it? And and are you biased? You know what I mean? If you only like bars, and then you hear her bars, and then you say like, I can't really like it because I know she probably didn't write this or that, or should we just listen to the music and just enjoy it for what it is? I would say the latter. I think with Cardi B's music, I don't think she makes music where you're supposed to analyze and like talk about the bars necessarily, even if you like the bars. I think you're supposed to just enjoy her music. And so I will check it out eventually. I hear that I think I heard like one song on it, and it felt like a offset diss, right? So she, like I said, she's kind of on a revenge tour right now. But hopefully, man, like hopefully her situation with Stefon Diggs is real, and hopefully they didn't rush into things to where, which I would say they rushed into things in terms of her getting pregnant. But that's just how it be, man. That's how it be. And now she's kind of, like I said, she's kind of like a stereotype, unfortunately. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But what do you think? What do you think? Are you surprised? I would think Stefon Diggs, man. I don't know. I don't know if I'm seeding up Cardi B, man. I think she comes with a little bit of baggage there. Obviously he can afford it, like in terms of financially, he can afford all the things that she got going on, but is it worth it though? I don't know. We'll see. But leave a comment below. What do you think about Cardi B's pregnancy to Stefon Diggs, and how that's going to work out? And then what do you think is the dynamic going to be between that love triangle, so to speak, or that baby mama, baby daddy triangle of Cardi B, Offset, and Stefon Diggs? Like, what do you think? Hopefully though, for Stefon Diggs, hopefully Cardi is putting a battery in his back, and then he can repeat his performance that he had this past week in football. He had his first 100-yard game of the season, and hopefully, man, I know he's getting a little bit older, but hopefully he can get back to fantasy Rebel events. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. But speaking of football players, I did want to, and so yeah, this episode does have a little bit of sports in it, from different aspects. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about him. So him, the new movie, it's produced by Jordan Peele. It is not directed by Jordan Peele. So we're gonna talk about that in a little. We're gonna get into that a little bit, but I'm gonna give my first reactions. We're gonna talk about the fan reception of it, and then we're gonna give my full critique on the movie. All right. So first reaction of him was I really liked it. I really liked it. When I went to the theater to see it. I went by myself. I went to see it. It was a matinee. And I was excited to see it. Like I wanted to see this movie. I thought that the promotion of it was like really strong. And I thought the concept was cool because we knew that Jordan Peele had his hands on this project. We didn't know to what extent. I think everybody assumed that he did direct it, but it made you think like, all right, what are they gonna get into? The previews were a little bit confusing. And it wasn't necessarily clear as to what they were gonna really like, how they were gonna tackle this and what it was gonna be about. So this was a movie that my son wanted to see. Like he wanted to see this movie. He saw the trailers. He thought it was cool because he's kind of into horror, and then like he's like in sports right now. So he definitely thought like, oh, like this is something that that he's gonna want to watch. After I saw it though, because my son has seen 9 of the 10 Saw movies with me, right? And now my son knows that that stuff is fake. He knows that it's fictional. He knows that a lot of that stuff is not fully possible, like how intricate like some of the traps get. He knows that's not realistic, and that stuff is not happening. But um when I seen him, I still thought like I was like looking at it, I was watching it, and I thought like, yeah, this one, he won't be able to see this one. Like his grandma, I remember his grandma had seen it, and she said that she thought I wasn't gonna like it, and she thought it was like too much for Jackson. And I would say, for the most part, it is a little bit too adult for him. There's not, I wouldn't say there's not nudity in it, but there is like some sexual energy. But what I would say is, it's just very brutal. Like there's a level of brutality to it that doesn't make me feel comfortable with showing my son because and some of the themes behind it, right? Like and we're gonna get into some of those themes. We're gonna get into that, but just some of the themes just felt a little bit too mature, too adult, to where it's like I don't think he's gonna be able to understand kind of what's going on in this film, and it would be too much to explain. And by explaining, I'm kind of getting into like some adult themes that like he probably shouldn't really know about anyway. So I'm gonna I'm gonna wait till he's a little bit older to show him something like that. He's probably gonna forget about the movie altogether. Hopefully I don't forget about the movie, but we'll see. But yeah, I was excited to see it. I thought the cinematography was great. It had this like artsy feel to it, right? It had this like almost like this stamp to it that made it kind of stand out. But but yeah, like I said, I liked it, but we'll get into why I liked it and like what the my overall critique is. But what I would say though, in terms of fan reception, I ain't gonna lie, I have not like if and of course I hate to compare things because this is not the same kind of movie, but when you see a movie like him and then you see a movie like earlier this year, you see a movie like Sinners, and you're trying to compare because we got and this is and that's the thing. It's important to know that Jordan Peele did not direct this, so this was not directed by a black director. The director's name was Justin Tipping, and I ain't gonna lie, he looks kind of Asian. Let me double check that. So when I started looking at Justin Tipping, he is not black. However, he would be somebody of color. In terms of ethnicity, it says his father is English, German, and Swedish, so European. His mother is Filipino, and says possibly some Chinese and Spanish. So he's definitely he's ethnic. He's from it says San Francisco, California. I've seen some places say that he's from Oakland, so he's from the Bay Area. He's definitely familiar with black culture, and I would say like yeah, he's definitely a person of color, but it's not it's not the same. It's not the same kind of movie, and you could tell already it's not the same. One is more of a historical backdrop, and one is like very modern, almost futuristic to an extent, right? But I haven't heard anyone talking about this film, right? And it's kind of surprising to me that no one is talking about it because it definitely I thought it had good promotion. Like I felt like him was everywhere. I felt like we knew about him probably around the time that Sinners was coming out. I definitely knew about him when Fantastic Four came out because that was probably the last movie I saw in the theaters. But yeah, definitely not getting the same Sinners airtime and reception. In fact, when we talk about fan reception, Rotten Tomatoes has it only rated as a 31% from the critics. So 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then it's a little bit, the popcorn meter is more so for fans. And the fans have it slightly better at 58%. But when you think about that, 58% is low for a movie, right? When you compare it to Sinners, who is still even months later, Sinners is still sitting at 97%. So, and that's like high. Like it was a perfect rating at one point in time. Even though people have seen it multiple times, it has not gone down in favor. Like people still really like Sinners, right? Yeah, so but 58%, even though that's still like it's more than half, I would still say that most people did not. I would still say too many people did not like it, right? And that's just people that rated it. So you would definitely have to bring that down like, 15 to 20%. So I would still say like most people did not really fuck with him like that, right? And I'm gonna tell you, I can see why. I can see why they wasn't feeling it. Um, when I look at the reviews though, I was trying to gather. I'm like, well, all right, it's this low. What's the problem? Why didn't people like it? Well, many of the reviews that I'm seeing are saying that the movie didn't really make any sense. Okay. That the story falls apart. I'm also seeing that I'm also seeing that the director had like rookie execution, and that the movie was promising, like it was a good concept, but that it doesn't go anywhere. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I have to agree with some of those sentiments. First, let's address and let's make this clear. I already said it earlier, but this was a Jordan Peele production. So this was Monkey's Paw Productions, but this movie was not directed by Jordan. It wasn't directed by Jordan. Instead, this movie was directed by Justin Tipping, who only has one other film under his belt. Back in 2016, it was a film called Kicks. And when I look at the thumbnail of it, right, the cover art, it features the kid that played Coogie in The Shy. Remember the very first season of The Shy, very first episode of The Shy, the kid that gets killed. He ends up being on a character on my block as well, that actor. But it had like a Jordan. This film had a Jordan Peele essence, but it didn't have that Peele signature, right? So that's what I'm gonna get into when I talk about my critique. So it felt like it was a Jordan Peele movie, probably because it was a lot of black people in it. So it felt like a Jordan Peele movie, but like it was missing something. So I ain't gonna lie, I do agree with some of those sentiments. Overall, if I had to give my rating of it, my critique of it, I thought Marlon's character was captivating. Like he was definitely interesting. People said it should be considered for an Oscar, and I ain't gonna lie, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. Like I think he did play an interesting character. He was captivating, but I think people that are saying that probably haven't seen Marlon Wayans play in too many serious roles. So, like when you think about, I've seen him play in serious roles. So, if you think about Requiem for a Dream, if you think about even Six Man was a comedy, but like it was kind of serious. Like he's still probably out. Like those characters and those performances still probably stand out more than what he did to him. He was a good character, like in this, like he was an interesting character, but like Oscar, no, Michael B. Jordan probably should win an Oscar for what he did in that double role in Sinners, but like Marlon getting an Oscar for this, nah. Um, I would say the film was definitely missing something overall. I can't fully put my finger on it, but it definitely was. I think what it is like, if I had to guess, it tries to be deep because again, when we think of a Jordan Peele movie, we think about all these like Easter eggs and we think about all these hidden meanings. But I would say that the plot and the themes of this movie are very on the surface. Like it's pretty straightforward, and that's why it doesn't seem like a Jordan Peele movie because I think everything is very obvious. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's not a lot, since no one's really talking about it, no one has really broken it down to where to really refute what I'm saying. So I'm gonna stand on what I'm saying. I'm sure there's gonna be some people that do some deep dives, but I think that people did not enjoy this movie so much that they're not even bothering. Like they're not even bothering breaking this down. Like I said, I'm the only one. My man Stu hit me up, was like, "Yo, did you see this movie yet?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he even had some of the same things like, yo, what was it about? Like it didn't make no sense. And when I told him what I thought it was about, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, whatever. But like he was like, yeah, he was waiting for like the secret, you know? And I was like, nah, I don't think it's a secret. I think they're just kind of telling it like it is, right? So this movie is a movie about sacrifice. Overall, this movie is about sacrifice. And the question is, what are people willing to sacrifice in the name of success, right? In order to be successful, what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to compromise? What are you willing to sacrifice, right? So we see sacrifice in multiple different forms in this movie, right? Like, for example, uh, are people or players, right, willing to sacrifice their own health? In this movie, we see that we see a lot of characters getting poked and prodded, using different like maybe performance enhancers or even painkillers, right, just so they can get on the field. And the thing is, right, even though that stuff makes you feel good, it's only masking the problem, and guys are risking themselves every week in and week out just to get out there. So they're risking their health. There's even some stuff in here where, and again, it feels like performance enhancing, but like guys are getting blood transfusions, and I think it's trying to have satire of like, yo, all the different ways that athletes go above and beyond to get some type of competitive advantage, right? And they do the weirdest shit, right? And like in this movie, there's some weird shit going on. This movie is about, you see in this movie, you see, I mean, are players and people willing to sacrifice their own morals, right? So in this film, there's like a lot of like demonic like themes that kind of get touched on in this. Like they don't really get in depth, whatever, but like when you look at like the main character, well, not the main character, but Marlon Wayne's character, I think his name is like Isaiah Wright. When you look at his character, you see he has like this like weird cult like fan base, right? And like, but they seem like they are like lost, and they seem like they're like on some stuff, but it also feels like very devilish, and like there's a lot of blood, and there's a lot of red light in this film and stuff like that. So so are people willing so I first said, are people willing to sacrifice their own health? Are they willing to sacrifice their own morals and integrity? Are people willing to sacrifice others, right? There's a scene, and this is one of the most brutal scenes that they have, like one of the most, because it keeps happening. So there's a scene in this movie where basically the main character, he's doing like a pro day workout, and really he's there for a whole week, and he's working out with Marlon Wayne's character, because the team is thinking about maybe drafting him. So like he has a workout with him, and because he suffers like a weird injury, and since and so he didn't perform at the combine, so now he's doing like these private workouts. So he's with Marlon Wayans for a week long, and every day there's like a different theme to like whatever they're doing. So when he's there, um, they do different drills. So there's a drill where basically um Cameron Cade, who is Tyreek Withers, the actor Tyreek Withers, his guy's name's Cameron Cade, the character he's playing. So he has to take a snap he has to turn around to his offense, right? He has to take a snap from Marlon Wayans. He has to turn around and he has to hit a receiver. Now that's like the main thing. So you're like thinking like, all right, that's not that bad, whatever. But he can't really see where he's throwing necessarily. It's like quick reactions. Then they asked one of the receivers to like they wanted to volunteer. So they have the guy standing in front of a jug machine. So if you don't know what the jug machine is, it's basically like it's a catching machine. So It's a way that receivers use this so they can catch different passes if they don't have somebody throwing them a football. And basically, the way the jug machine works is you feed a football into it, and it launches a football. You can have it go different trajectories. You can have it go different speeds. So what they do is they have one guy standing there like kind of to the side, and he's standing right in front of a jug machine, right? Every time that a receiver drops a pass, or every time that Cameron Cade misses a throw, they load a ball into the jug machine, and the guy's standing there, and he's supposed to take shots right to his face. And bro, the brutality of that, and it's like when you think about that, especially in football, yo, you are sacrifice like some people are sacrificing their teammates every play, right? Especially quarterbacks, right? Think about the quarterbacks that leave their receivers out to dry right over the middle, and they're about to catch it, and then they're gonna get crushed, whatever. Like, but maybe that's the perfect play to make, right? That's the perfect play to make, but it's also maybe the most dangerous play to make. And so yeah, what are you willing to sacrifice your teammates for that? Or or even your success. Like, are you willing to sacrifice to help your teammates, right? And so like he had to complete the passes, and it wasn't even if he missed throws. If the receivers themselves dropped it, this guy would get blasted in the face with a 80-mile-an-hour, football, right? And it wasn't like he was far away. He might have been maybe 10 feet away from the machine, and it's just blast. He's not supposed to catch it. He's supposed to just stand there with his arms behind his back and just taking these hits to the face. This guy was missing teeth. He was all lumped up, all bleeding. That's probably one of the scenes I'll give y'all. But it was brutal, man. It was brutal. Um, but also, it's just weird. Like there's a lot of like weird, eerie things that kind of happen in this film. I don't want to give it away because I think the ending is I think it might be lackluster, but I ain't gonna I still enjoyed the movie overall. Like I don't think this wasn't a movie that this is not a movie that has a clear beginning, middle, end, and it's like gonna tie together and all make sense. It is an artsy film. There's a lot of absurdity in this film, and I don't mind stuff like that. And like I said, I thought it looked great enough, and it was still an enjoyable experience. But like in terms of like storyline, it was probably lacking. If I had to rate it from a scale from 1 to 10, it might be like a 6.5. Because like I said, I enjoyed it, but like, what does it stack up against? I don't know. I don't know what it stack up against because it's kind of confusing as to what the genre is because it's not really horror. It's not really a sports movie. It's not really a drama. It's probably like some thrill. It's probably psychological thriller, maybe if anything. But it's interesting. There was a couple, like I said, there were some moments of absurdity in it. Probably the jug machine was one of them, but also remember when remember when Cat Williams said something about like when famous people like for in order for a celebrity to get fully famous and to get big and to reach the next level, they have to they get married to a light skinned ugly face wife, whatever. And I just remember that comment by Cat Williams. And like when you see Marlon Wayans' wife in there, the character, like you're gonna look at her and be like, yo, nah, yo, she on some shit. Like she has potential to look good, but they purposely make her character look really weird. And again, there's a lot of weird things that happen in this film that you're gonna be like, why was that in there? And I ain't gonna lie, I like stuff like that, but I understand that it can't, like, for many people, this kind of film does not hold up. It doesn't fully hold up for me, but again, I was excited about it. I think if Jordan Peele himself directed this, it would be a little bit different. I think they would get a little bit deeper. They have some cool cutscenes where, like, anytime there's like some type of injury or something, like they show these like weird x-rays. There's a lot of red light in here in this film. There's a lot of blood. And again, it's weird, it's freaky. I do recommend you go see it for yourself to see if you like it, But again, maybe going into this, maybe you don't want to watch this review before you before you see it because you might be like, oh, what's the point of that? I just actually just want more people to see it so I can have more people to talk to about it. And I ain't gonna lie, I would see it again. I wouldn't see it in the theaters, but I do want to watch it again just so I can like maybe break down. And I'm gonna probably watch some other breakdowns of it to see like what did I miss? You know, what did I not get into? And I might follow up and talk about it again, but we'll see. But let's move on. Let's move on. But yeah, go check out him if you haven't. Jordan Peele production. Jordan Peele production, not Jordan Peele directed. All right. Speaking of black movies though, I did see another black movie. Yo, I remember when this movie was about to come out, and let me just double check the date. When was this film released? Because I remember talking about it on the podcast. I remember saying like, "Yo, I gotta go see that movie." Wow, I am that late to this movie. The podcast was around. The podcast was definitely around, but this movie came out 3 years ago. So here's the difference too, right? So and this is why people don't like Rotten Tomatoes, but Rotten Tomatoes is a very accurate description of like it's a very accurate critique of how good a movie really is. Like if your movie scores low on Rotten Tomatoes, bro, your shit is trash. Like it's not that good, and you might have some people that beg to differ and will say differently, but for the most part, if it's on Rotten Tomatoes and it has a high rating, it probably is a solid movie because again, it's not they take an aggregate score. It's the critics, but it's also the fans. So the Blackening, I remember I wanted to see this movie. This came out in 2022. I remember talking about this early on in the podcast a couple years ago, and with this film, it's kind of a mix of comedy but also of horror, right? So the Blackening, yeah, again, it's a horror movie, but it's also like kind of like comedy. It feels kind of spoofy. It kind of felt like it was gonna be on some like scary movie type stuff, but no, it actually holds up. Um, I would say that this movie, like I said, even though it did come out a couple years ago, it was only in select theaters, so I never got an actual chance to watch it. Um, but yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it did live up to the hype. If it did have hype, on Rotten Tomatoes, it had scored like an 87%. I thought it wasn't particularly scary, but I thought that it had a good balance of suspense and comedy. I think the plot was good. You know, it's basically like on some like haunted house type of feel, and this group of friends they're trying to have a gathering, a reunion of some sort, right? And they go to play they go there, and the first couple that gets there they're early, and they end up encountering this board game called the Blackening. And it's I ain't gonna lie, it's wild because there's like the main like symbol on there is like a blackface like minstrel character, right? And so it looks weird. It kind of looks rough, you know what I mean? And you're like, what the hell? And you know, they have to answer different questions about black culture. But if the players refuse to play or they get answers wrong, they get killed. So then when the rest of the group comes, they're wondering where their friends are, and then they end up starting to play the game as well. And then they find out that this is some like type of elaborate plot. And there's a cool twist in the end, because like one of the people that came to a reunion is behind it. I mean, he's behind it. But like I said, there's a lot of good funny moments, but there is also some suspense where you're just like, oh, snap. Like you don't know what's gonna happen, you don't know how it's gonna end up. But overall, I thought it was good, and it was a feel good. It had like a feel good, you know, effect to it. But again, it was at 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. But that was a movie that did not really get talked about enough, I would say. So, leave a comment below, man, if you've seen The Blackening. And yeah, like why didn't that get no love? I mean, in 2022. And like I think it's probably because a lot of people just didn't see it, but the critics that did see it, they gave it love, man. And the fans that seen it, they gave it love. So, and I would say that holds up. It holds up. All right, let's move on. Yeah, so man, again, y'all know about this boy Charlie Kirk, man. So, we're not talking necessarily directly about Charlie Kirk, but something happened in a Starbucks. And at Starbucks that you can, you give them your name, right? And so now, they used to print out the name and like, they would often get your name wrong. But now they've kind of gone back to like handwriting the names. So the big thing right now at Starbucks is that people are ordering a drink that like they're ordering like Charlie Kirk's Starbucks order, and whatever kind of drink it is, it don't matter what it is, whatever. I've heard some people make jokes about that. And a lady goes viral because she was upset because the person brought out her drink, but they did not say the name. And she put that her name was Charlie Kirk, right? So I do have a video to kind of share with you, or at least a piece of this to share with y'all, and then we can kind of go from there. But I kind of want to know what you guys think about this. I already know where this is going. But I even responded to it. Like I even commented on the post because I just thought like it was a little bit ridiculous. But let's see. But it says here, woman explodes on Starbucks barista after she brings drink instead of calling out Charlie Kirk. So we're gonna watch like maybe a piece or two of this because it's kind of like the same thing over and over. But let's take a look here. So notice she does say the name of someone else's drink, all right? So that's what's gonna trigger this lady.
So you didn't call his name out? You didn't call the name out? Yeah.
She's recording right now.
I am. Yep. Why can't you say his last name?
What is happening? Why are you being like that, Jennifer?
Why are you being like, why are you being like this?
No, why are you being
Yes.
like that to
Well, okay, why are you being like that to me?
You are being so rude to this girl.
I'm not.
She brought your drinks to
I actually am making a point, a big point.
recording her, setting her up for failure.
I actually wrote a very good post prior to this.
Crazy, man.
It's not. I wrote.
So it does go on a little bit longer. We'll watch a little bit. So basically, she's upset that the person didn't say the name Charlie Kirk, right? She just brings out the drink. She points out that she said the other person's name, but like she's like, why didn't I? And then she's like, I'm here to make a point. And she's trying. This is what I've learned a lot about like manipulation tactics, whatever. And what she's trying to do is trying to make it seem like she's not being malicious, and she's gonna tell us and repeatedly tell us that she gave this Starbucks a good review. Why would you give them a good review before you got your drink? All right. So again, that's all for show. All that talk about, oh, I gave a good review. That's all for show. So let's keep going. Again, there's a lot of different parts of this carousel. We're not gonna watch the whole thing, but we're gonna watch a little bit more.
Wrote a very good post prior to this. I wrote a really good post. I was really hoping you were going to make the right choice.
I really hope you're gonna make the right choice. I'm gonna bring that up again. So hold on.
It's not politics. A man spoke up for what he believes in, and he got shot in the neck over it.
Oh my God.
And you couldn't stand there and call my name out, my name, but you called his name out. But you called his name out, couldn't call his name out. Called his name out, but couldn't call his name out. No, actually I was setting him up for success because I wrote a really good report. Excuse me? It is Charlie Kirk. It's the point. You guys came in after me. The place was completely empty. And you're making a scene. You didn't have to make a scene.
All right, so I'm done watching this, whatever. But so it goes on and on, whatever. Eventually, like a manager kind of comes out and tries to like talk to her, and they eventually like tell her like she's gonna have to leave. But shout out to the bystander that kind of stands up and saying like, "Hey, why are you trying to set this girl up for failure? Even the barista, she goes on to say like, hey, I don't want to get political, and then this woman makes this point. She's like, it's not about politics. I'm making a point though. It's not about politics, and it clearly is politically driven. This is not about and she kept saying, it is your policy. It is your policy to say the name that's on the cup. And I commented about it not being policy. And I said, I'm gonna read my comment. It says, it's not their policy, LOL. As long as they give the right person their drink, that's all that matters. Insufferable is the only way to describe a person like this. And I got like a lot of likes on that. Like, and just on a comment, it's kind of I got 558 likes on that comment. And I did have a couple people that replied to it. There was one person that said, like, no, actually, it is their policy. And I was like, cool, I'll stand corrected. Maybe it is their policy. However, this lady was trying to be divisive. Like she was doing that on purpose. And the thing is though, Starbucks has and I looked it up and it said that it's kind of like a recommendation. It's kind of like a norm, but it's not a policy. Like they're not required employees, they don't get fired if they don't say somebody's name. Again, the most important thing is making sure the customer gets the right drink. I don't care if they say my name. I just want my fucking drink, bro. Like I can have an order number for all I want. The reason why they say names is because Starbucks wants to create like human connection. But obviously, that lady was not trying to create human connection because she didn't want her name to be known. We still don't know this lady's name, so she didn't want her name to be known. She just wanted this barista to say the name Charlie Kirk to be provocative. Now, apparently, that was controversial, and Starbucks has a policy where like they don't want any kind of like weird like slurs to be like people can't say that their name is a slur. They don't want them to use political slogans. um they can kind of like encourage a customer to like, hey, say something else, whatever, so we could put it down. But like they're not required to say this. And we know why she was doing it. She was doing this clearly to be divisive. She was doing this to be nasty to this lady, and again, acting like a Karen. So you could tell that the original barista was really not trying to. She was not trying to have no smoke, whatever. This lady wanted some kicks, whatever. All right, just say, and that's what, because why she recorded it before she even got the drink, so you know that she was up to some shit. And she turns the camera around and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go live," and she makes a big old scene, whatever. But like overall, man, that shit is corny. That shit is corny. That shit is BS. It's corny. It's trolling at the highest degree. And what point were you making? What point were you making? Now, in the past, they have had like I think there was something where people were naming their drink George Floyd, and that was something that they kind of like frowned upon. Like Starbucks was like, all right, man, we don't want to get into this, whatever. And because you don't know if you're putting that name to be like of like in favor of George Floyd or if you're putting that name to be against him, because there was a lot of people that, obviously had negative opinions about him. So the same thing with this. It's like, yo, let's avoid that. Like, let's avoid that. You can order. Here's the thing. I feel like you can order the Charlie Kirk. Like, you can order the drink, whatever. You could even call the drink the Charlie Kirk. But like, why are you, even though you could put whatever name you want, why are you trying to, what kind of point are you trying to make, whatever. It's not about free speech, and that's what she kept saying. She kept saying like, oh, this is a violation of free speech. And I'm thinking like, what? Like, but I don't have time for people like that, man. It's ridiculous. And it's crazy because that lady, the way that woman presented herself, the way that she looked, like that was the same kind of people that Charlie Kirk was talking crazy about all the time, right? So leave a comment below. What do you think about that whole incident? Do you think it's ridiculous? Do you think it's uncalled for? Was that lady, stepping over the line? Was she out of line when she did that and tried to make that request? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. All right, let's move on. We got two more topics and we're getting out of here. So Packers football. So the Packers, man, I was excited, bro. Like we had a we. It's almost like we had a bye week already, right? So after the first 2 weeks, I talked about us. right? I'm excited that we're riding high. We're 2-0. I'm like, yo, hot start. We got the Browns. I figured that the Browns game was gonna be like a trap game. No, I had a feeling. I said, and as I'm keeping up with the game because it was not televised, I was like, yo, this is not good because it was low scoring. It was low scoring from the outset, from the beginning of the game. It was low scoring. Now in the fourth quarter, we had a 10-0 lead, right? Had a 10-0 lead. We ended up giving up a field goal. Then we were up by 3 points. The Packers are up by 3 points. And they kind of have to like the defense is stopping them all game, right? It's the fourth quarter. It's towards the end of the fourth quarter. You could tell that the Packers are trying to play conservative and they're trying to keep the clock running. We couldn't get the ball running, man. The offensive line was atrocious. They gave up 5 sacks in that game. Josh Jacobs could not get going. He averaged like 2 yards a carry. It looked kind of crazy out there. And on a third and short, right, when the Packers probably should have just ran the ball, probably just kept the clock going, or make the Browns use their last timeout. They decide to pass it, and they're in their own territory. And Jordan Love throws his first pick of the season. The Browns player returns it about to like the 5 yard line. So now it's tied up, and we have a good drive and with a little bit of time left, and we're kind of we would have gave them if we would have made this field goal, it might have been like 20 some seconds left. So we go for the field goal and we whiffed on it and the guy blocks it, right? And then, they make a couple plays and they're able to score. So they end up winning the game 13-10. So I'm like, I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with this like, yo, what the hell? How the Packers lose to the Browns? What kind of time? Like, oh, they're fake. Like they're not for real. And I'm like, yo, the Browns defense is pretty decent. Now that me saying that, and then they got trounced by Detroit, it makes it look like, oh no, the Packers just were struggling. It was really the Packers offensive line again. Jordan Love got sacked 5 times, had me disappointed. It made me worried though, because I was thinking like, damn man, maybe our offense is not for real. Maybe we are feeling the effects of this Jaden Reed injury, and it's gonna be a long day for us, whatever. So then going into week 4, because I think that's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna be talking about these games like 2 games at a time. So then we go into play the Cowboys on Sunday night, and this was the Micah Parsons homecoming game, so to speak. So he's playing Dallas first time, and the Packers look hot. The Packers are on top, right? We're up. We scored our second touchdown. It was 13-0. We're going for the extra point. What happens? It gets blocked. So back to back weeks, we had one of our field goals blocked, right? Whether it's a PAT, we had one of our kicks blocked, right? PAT or field goal, we had it blocked. And not only was it blocked, but it was returned for the conversion. So when you block a kick and you return it, you get 2 points. Like, well, on an extra point. On a regular block, that's a touchdown, right? So if that was a blocked field goal, that would be a touchdown the other way. So 13-2, and that matters. That mattered. So after 13-2, Jordan Love has a turnover where he gets sacked, a strip sack. Again, making you wonder about the offensive line. But the offense is firing. The offense is firing, and the game ended in a 40-40 tie. Now, I do like the new overtime format. Both teams get to possess the ball, regardless if the first team scores a touchdown or not. Now, what's going to happen, what you're going to start seeing in this new overtime rule is that teams are going to choose to kick, right? Because once that team has possession, once that team has possession, even if they score a touchdown, that like, yo, you can keep the game alive. So I think what's gonna happen is teams are gonna choose the kick. The teams that receive the ball, if they score touchdowns, they're gonna go for two. They're gonna go for two because then 2 point conversions are gonna matter, right? Especially at the end of the game, because if the other team is able to match, they not only have to match your touchdown, but they got to match that 2 point conversion. Now, the only way that sometimes that'll backfire because now when they match, all they have to do is kick a if you fail to get your 2 point conversion, or you know what I mean, all they got to do is then kick the PAT. But so I do like the new format. I thought that the Packers, we were like it was now looking at those two games, the Browns game and the Cowboys game. In the Cowboys game, the Packers offense was on full tilt, man. Josh Jacobs had a great game. Josh Jacobs had over 150 yards all purpose. He had like 70 or 80 yards receiving and 70 or 80 yards rushing. He had 2 touchdowns. Romeo Dobbs had 3 touchdowns. Matthew Golden got involved. Tucker Kraft was involved. Jordan Love had an amazing game. He threw for 337 yards. Over 72% completion rating. He had 3 passing touchdowns. Like we were balling, and the strength of our team in the first 3 weeks has been our defense. Well, for whatever reason, we could not get home. We could not sack the quarterback. Micah Parsons made probably the game saving sack at the very end where he starts on the left side of the defense. Dak rolls to the left side of the offense. So Micah has to go all the way around and chases him down and gets him right because Dak would have ran it in for a touchdown. He hawked this guy down, stops them from scoring. That ends up leading them to go to a field goal. When the Packers get the ball back, we're driving on them, and I'm thinking that we're going to go for the jugular. We had weird clock management, and we almost lost the game. We almost lost the game. I think we used our timeout a little bit. We used one of our timeouts a little bit too soon, and we were not rushing to the line to get back. We were not trying to take shots. We were being conservative. We were trying not to lose as opposed to win. And Brandon McManus, he had 1 second, and yeah, he made the field goal to tie it, but then there was no time left. The reason why they played conservative was the fact that like they knew that if they had to settle for a field goal, they couldn't leave a lot of time for Brandon Aubrey because Brandon Aubrey can kick 70-yard field goals. So they knew that they had to kind of tighten up, and they had to kind of waste time, but also think about the possibility of like, yo, if we got to be conservative here, we can't give them the ball back with too much time because for whatever reason the defense could not stop Dallas, right? And so it's weird. A tie does not it doesn't feel better than a loss. Like in your gut in your heart of hearts, it does not feel better than a loss. But statistically, it is a lot. It's slightly better than I don't say a lot better. It's slightly better than a loss because what's gonna happen is like if you're a 10-win team, if our team and another 10-win team are at it, the person with the tie automatically has an advantage. Like you don't even have to go about like tiebreakers and stuff like that don't even matter. Like it don't like if I'm a 10-7 team and or no, if I'm a 10-6-1 team and you're a 10-7 team, my team is better than you. Like I automatically win. It doesn't matter if we won head to head. It doesn't matter if you have a better division record than me. I have a better overall record because I have one less loss than you. So a tie is not that bad. I know a lot of people feel that like there shouldn't be ties in football, but I think there is a they happen enough, but they don't happen often enough to where it's like a problem. But I do think that there is something because like football is a game of inches, and I think it's just showing like I think it's about wear and tear. Like they don't want guys playing 70 minute games, week in and week out. And it's like, yo, if you couldn't get it done in the allotted time plus the overtime, then yeah, it does deserve to be a tie. So it does suck, but like again, the Packers going to the bye week, they got to figure some things out because you have a week where your defense is lights out, right? And then the offense kind of sold them out to dry. And then you have this game where the offense plays lights out and the defense left them out to dry. So the secondary was getting torched, and the secondary has been a strength. Pass rush, we gotta make sure that we're getting home. It cannot just be Micah Parsons. Other people have to get some pressure. I would give Dak Prescott credit though. Dak Prescott was getting rid of that ball, but even still, Micah probably could have had like 3 sacks if Dak wasn't getting rid of that ball. If he wasn't on his A game, it was going to be a long day for Dak Prescott. But like, shout out to the Cowboys, man, for playing hard. A 40-40 tie is crazy. This 40-40 tie had the most lead. This tie had the most lead changes of all time. With 7 lead changes, it was definitely a seesaw game. I didn't even want to stay up the whole time to watch it, but I kind of had to, just because I had to see the outcome. But yeah, man, that's what it was. And again, crazy outcome. But Packers, they go into a bye week and they get an extra week to kind of figure some things out. And hopefully they do. I hate having the earliest bye week because the rest of the season becomes like a marathon then. So I like having like a week 10 bye, maybe week 9 or 10 bye, because then it's like, all right, either we play 8 games and we got 9 left, or we play 9 games, we got 8 left. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but it's pretty cool, man. I think the Packers are still a really good team. I think we got some. We're surprisingly, we're gonna have some players come back from injury, that these players are seething and they're waiting. Like when Christian Watson comes back, man, it's gonna show the value of Christian Watson. And again, we after that Washington game, even though he has not played, we decided to give him a 1 year extension. So like we have him for, it's not like we automatically lose him after this season. Like we have him this season and next season, to kind of figure some things out in terms of like long term deals. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Leave a comment below. What do you think about the Packers? Are they a contender or pretender? I'm not gonna give a whole recap of the whole NFL. But yeah, there are some teams that are kind of surprising me with their records right now and their play. Baltimore being one of them. After that first loss to the Bills, it just seems like they haven't been able to get on track. The Chiefs are back on track. They go 2-2. Yeah, the Eagles, man. The Eagles is like they're winning some ugly games, but that's a good sign. If you can win an ugly game, it's a good sign. But it does give teams some confidence because they're feeling like, oh yeah, like they not for real like that. But we'll see, we'll see. But leave a comment below. What do you think? What's some teams, or what are some things in terms of sports that you'd like to hear me talk about in the future? Leave a comment below. And then last but not least, they announced during the Sunday night football game that I was watching where my Packers fucking tied. They made the Super Bowl halftime show announcement, and the this year's performer at the for this Super Bowl is gonna be Bad Bunny, and I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at the Bad Bunny pick. I'm one of those people that I'm not necessarily a fan of his, but also I don't necessarily get bent out of shape for the for the Super Bowl performance. When Kendrick Lamar was picked, I ain't gonna say I thought he didn't deserve it, like because he's super accomplished. I more so thought that like people wouldn't really like it. Like I didn't think that people would like it, and I didn't think that his music was like fully transcendent to where like a lot of different people like it. I would say that Bad Bunny, especially that he's a Spanish speaking artist, but he is from Puerto Rico, so he's an American. Um, I think the fact that he doesn't have music that has English, it does have a lot of people feeling some type of way. It has a lot of people like kind of scratching their heads. But like I know a lot of people, and there's probably millions of people that listen to Bad Bunny's music even when they don't even know a single word that he's saying, and they like his music. Because and I have not been on the phenomenon, but like I'm not mad. The decision makes a lot of sense. Bad Bunny is the biggest artist in the world for over the last like 5 years, has been the biggest artist. So it makes sense. And the fact that the NFL is trying to expand to different markets globally, this is perfect because like the reason why he's the biggest artist in the world is because of his international ties. So like that international audience is gonna watch simply for some Bad Bunny. So they're creating some new fans with this. So Jay-Z made a good business move for the NFL. But again, I think people are gonna feel some type of way. I ain't gonna lie, I don't really care. I'm not mad at it. I think it's kind of dope that he got picked. It makes sense that he got picked. And because a lot of people were speculating that Jay-Z was going to be the pick. So now I think this sets it up to where Jay-Z can be it for next year. Like I think if we would have got another rapper, I was already thinking that we're not going to get back-to-back rappers. Like I already had a feeling that that was not going to happen. And I also had a feeling that they were going to try to pick something of a different genre. And they do. They did. They picked the most random genre. Yeah, I mean, like, and I don't even know what. I don't know if this is called like dembow or is this called. This is not reggaeton, whatever. But like, yeah. So we got Bad Bunny, and apparently like black people were mad about it. You know what I mean? Like people that just the language barrier, but like there's a lot of Caucasian folk that are mad about it as well, and they're calling it a woke pick and all that. But it's like I don't know, man. They're making it political when you think about like the whole like there was NFL teams that was trying to chastise. There was NFL teams that were trying to chastise um teams that did not celebrate, his death or did not honor him. So it's like pick and choose what y'all want. Like, are they woke or are they conservative and represent the values that you want? Like you got what you wanted from some teams, but then when they pick a Hispanic artist, now you got a lot to say. So this is only again, there's been a lot of talk about it, a lot of people not knowing how to feel about it. But again, we're only a couple days away from that announcement. We still got 5 months until the game is played, and so we'll see. I think we're going to see a lot of vitriol. I think you're going to see a lot of wild racist comments, a lot of bias commentary about this pick. But I think Bad Money going you don't get money necessarily for this, but I think just it's gonna be funny because he is like the biggest star, bro. He was in Happy Gilmore 2. He's about to do Saturday Night Live really soon. Like he's a superstar, man. So again, it makes sense. But we'll see what it looks like, man, when it all comes to fruition. I think there's gonna be some rappers out there, there's gonna be some singers out there that we know, and they're gonna help probably try to bridge the gap, I think. But what do you think about this week's episode, y'all? What do you think? Let me know. Let me know. This was episode 209. I had a good time. Again, we talked about the Starbucks debacle there. We talked a little bit. We talked about him. We gave the review for him. We talked about the Super Bowl. We talked about the Packers. And then Stefon Diggs and Cardi B with their baby announcement. That's what we talked about this week. If you're new to the channel, again, I need you to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications. If you're returning, I love you. Hit that like button, leave a comment below. Tell me how long you've been a fan. You know what I mean? If you sticking around, if you've been watching this long, if you know anybody that's interested in what we're talking about, then make sure you hit that share. But this was episode 209. I'm your host, Los Def, and I'm out, y'all. Peace.